Hello everyone, thank you so much for being here. Before we begin, please make sure that you follow my alternative media channels such as Patreon, Rumble, Substack, and Locals. Nowadays, it is more important than ever before to have alternative channels, alternative ways to connect, and to share meaningful information. I certainly hope to see you there as well. In this video, I will cover several very important events that you're going to want to know about. We will talk about the latest quiet, odd, but no longer shocking, unfortunately, jobs report, as well as the seaport strike suspension until just a week prior to the expected inauguration date in January. Very interesting coincidence, isn't it? First, seaport workers are now back to business. October the 4th, they started working again. So, what happened? For now, dock workers' strikes have been suspended with a tentative agreement between the International Longshoremen's Association and the United States Maritime Alliance. And so they extended their contract until January the 15th, 2025. This is a very interesting date because usually a presidential inauguration would take place in the second half of January, roughly on January the 20th, typically. So something is telling me that this may not be the end of that story. The new tentative agreement includes a 62% pay raise over the next 6 years. So definitely good news. I believe their goal was a 77% raise over the same time period. So what they're being offered right now is definitely close to their expectation and to what they were asking for in the very beginning. It is worth mentioning, however, that longshoremen were offered a 50% raise earlier this week, just several days ago, and they declined. I have uploaded several videos on the port strikes over the course of the past few days, and I saw many of you speculated in the comments about how much longshoremen actually make, what's their salary. So the tentative agreement would bring the hourly wage for a top dock worker to $63 per hour at the end of this new contract, so within the next 6 years, and that is an increase from the current $39 per hour under the expired and tentatively extended contract. The process, of course, is poorly automated at the seaports in the United States, unlike other countries such as China, and so their work does involve manual labor. Great news, in my opinion. I think we certainly didn't need more instability than we already have. Despite the fact that the strike did not last long, fortunately, what it did show us was that the supply chains are extremely fragile. And it also showed how much we depend on those supply chains. Also, we have to remember that both parties in Congress are advocating for tariffs on Chinese goods. Tariffs are protectionist measures that restrict free trade. So we've imposed tariffs on Chinese goods up to 100%, such as on EVs, that the entire Europe, by the way, prefers over European EVs, by the way. So any restriction of trade makes goods more expensive to buyers. It makes it more expensive for us. So if we couple it with fragile supply chains, I think we really need to understand that things may get bad very quickly. Now, let's move on to the latest jobs report. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics released the report this morning on Friday, October the 4th. It covers the month of September. Due to multiple downward revisions that we've seen this year, every single month virtually, this report is very, very surprising. So let's take a quick look. It says the United States economy added shocking 254,000 jobs in September alone, with the unemployment rate remaining virtually unchanged at 4.1%. Job numbers have beat expectations for the first time since May of 2024. The United States economy added 107,000 more jobs than expected originally in September alone, and this is according to the governmental data. Furthermore, August jobs numbers were revised higher, not lower this time. They went ahead and revised them higher by 17,000 jobs. So somehow they realized, well, wait a minute, US economy actually added 17,000 more jobs than we originally thought. I will remind you that in August, the unemployment rate was a bit higher as well. It was, well, officially, it was at 4.2%. So these numbers are extremely suspicious. They are suspiciously good this time around. The government further explains that the increase is driven by such industries as food services and drinking places. That is a very unusual description, in my opinion. Healthcare, government, social assistance, and construction. Additionally, the BLS here informs us that there are 6.8 million unemployed individuals in the United States as of September, which is an increase from 6.3 million unemployed people over the same period last year. The number of people employed part-time stands at 4.6 million in September, also an increase from 4.1 million a year earlier. And this is really interesting. These individuals, they say, would have preferred full-time employment but were working part-time because their hours had been reduced or they were unable to find full-time employment. Okay, so that doesn't quite make sense. The official data is now telling us that we just added 200 plus thousand new jobs in September alone, while the number of part-time jobs rose because people could not find full-time employment, even though that was their preference, that's what they were looking for. Additionally, the sentence that I just quoted indicates that there are more people willing to work than the number of job openings. Which brings us to the next point that I would really like to make here. Wage increases are unlikely to be considerable anytime soon because employers are not in a position to compete for employees. It's actually the other way around. Employees cannot find full-time job openings that they really want, so they will likely settle for smaller offers when those come in. Now, let's talk about a recent rise in layoffs and job cuts, which is something that contradicts the official data that I just showed you. This is what the government is not telling us, and this is a big red flag that I want you to know about. You must know this to understand what to expect next. U.S. job cuts announcements have been on the rise lately. U.S. employers announced nearly 73,000 job cuts in September alone. This represents a 53% year-over-year increase. What's worse is that the number of layoffs last month marked the third largest September since the 2008 financial crisis. In the third quarter of 2024 alone, companies announced 175,000 job cuts. That is actually nearly 20% higher than what we saw in the same quarter last year. Year-to-date announcement layoffs are now at a massive 610,000 jobs, nearly triple the 2022 numbers. So as companies announce these job cuts, as they announce layoffs, the reason that they quote often is the need to cut costs. I would even say that it seems very unrealistic that the labor market just added 200,000 plus new jobs, while layoffs and job cuts are twice or even 3 times as high as they used to be. So definitely something to keep in mind when we see announcements of a great jobs report. Don't let that mislead you. The Federal Reserve will use this report to decide if there will be a rate cut in November. Following its release, the odds of a 25 basis point interest rate cut in November surged to 93%. I hope this video was interesting and you learned something new from it. If that's the case, make sure that you follow my alternative media channels, show your support. It goes a long way. Give this video a thumbs up, consider sharing it, and subscribe to my backup platforms just in case. I would love to have you back for my next one. And if you enjoy reading, by the way, find me on Substack, where among other types of content, you will find a weekly newsletter every single weekend with the key events and economic data and other updates that will help you stay up to date on the most important news. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Take care.